Okay, so let's hop into the views.py file so that we can add a new view. And what we want to do here is add the functionality so that when a user goes to, our site.com/Google, they get redirected to www.google.com. So when they go to our shortened URL, it takes them to the longer final destination that they want to go to. So to do that, we'll create a new view, and we will call this root_link, and it'll take in the request, but it will also take in a parameter. And we'll call that the link slug. And so this link slug is what we will pass in so that we know which link we're working with and where we should send the user, what the final destination associated with that link is. So the first thing we can do is get the current link based on the slug. So it can be get object or 404, which basically means either get this object or return a 404 that it's not found if we can't find the link object. And then we pass in how we want to look it up. So we pass in the object itself, so link, the model, and then the field we want to look up. So we say slug equals link_slug, which is what we get passed in right here. Okay, so now we have the link itself. And what's going on here is this view will actually fire when somebody clicks on our shortened link. And so we want to keep track of how many times it gets clicked on. So we can increment the number of clicks on this link right here that we grabbed. And so we could do this by specifying that we should add 1 to the clicks field for this object, or we can just call that click function that we made on this link model. So all we have to do is say link.click and fire it, and this will increment the clicked field. And then the final step, all we have to do now is return something to the user. And typically we would return something like a template. We would render a template. But in this scenario, we don't want to render anything. We just want to move the user along to the final destination. And so what we can do here is return a redirect, and we can just redirect the user to the URL that's associated with this link. So we can return a redirect, and where we will send them is link.url. And now we have to import this redirect. So again, from up here from Django.shortcuts, our get object or 404 was auto imported, so you may need to import that. We have render, which is imported by default, and then we also want redirect, lowercase, excuse me. Perfect, so we have the view set up. Now we need to set up a URL to know when to fire this view. So let's go back into our urls.py file, and we'll add another URL path to the URL patterns. And this time the path itself will be a variable here. So we'll take a string and we'll call it link_slug like we did in the view. And so we're saying here that we're going to take in a variable, calling it link_slug, and it needs to be a string. And then the view that should fire isn't index, but root link. And it gets imported here from our view. And then we can just name this root-link. Awesome. And then the final step for this feature to work is that we just need to update our index.html page to actually link to this URL. So if we go to our index.html, right here where we have link.slug, href equals, and it's blank, we can update this to link to that new URL and view that we just set up. So we can say URL, we named it root-link, and then we want to pass in a variable, and it will be link.slug, and then we close that tag. And then we can also add target equals blank so that it opens in a new tab. So save that, make sure that your server is still running, and let's see if this works. So we're back on the home page. If we refresh this, we should be able to open this route right here in a new tab, and it takes us to Google. We can manually try this out by if we open our homepage in a new tab and we type in /Google, which is our site /Google, and click enter. It should take us to google.com. Awesome. So what's actually happening behind the scenes is that it's hitting our URL and our view, and then our URL is calling our root link view, which returns a redirect to the URL associated with that link. Awesome. So now we have the functionality of the site built out. The next thing we're going to start to do is get into the forms themselves and how we can add new links. So I look forward to seeing you in that next video.